Our guest today is a physician assistant that specializes in aesthetics and health and wellness. Please help me to introduce Injector Valerie.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. It's nice to see you. How are you?
Good, good. I'm so glad you were able to sit down with me and talk a little bit more.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Jonathan McLean, and I'm the founder and CEO of McLean Aesthetics.
Welcome to the dark side.
Let's go! So Valerie, I always like to start off the interviews by asking my guests, like, how has everything been since COVID-19? It's just crazy world we live in.
It is. It's really crazy. But strangely, in the aesthetic world, we've actually done a lot better. COVID, is very traumatic. It's very hard for a lot of people. But I think the combination of people being on Zoom, and we all look really terrible on Zoom. And so being forced to look at this wrinkle or what you don't like about yourself, and the combination with that, people being stuck inside and not being able to travel as much, and just wanting to do something nice for themselves, I found that I have more patients since COVID, wanting to do self-care.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I see so many people making more appointments. So many injectors are telling me people are even using care credit to get stuff done. They just want to feel good about themselves at this time. So that's amazing, amazing. So let's dive right into it. Let's go back to the beginning. What made you want to get into the aesthetic industry, or how did you get inside the aesthetic industry?
Yeah, great question. So I've been in the aesthetic industry for about 13 years, so a combination of plastic surgery, dermatology, and hair restoration. Yeah. It all started back working for a plastic surgeon, and I saw really what a plastic surgeon does, and was really interested in that, and then also what could an extender do? What could a nurse practitioner or a PA do? And seeing those tasks, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So right away I started to focus on that, and got my physician assistant education, and then have been injecting ever since.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really great. Now, you worked in plastics. What made you not want to stick to like more of the surgical side and go to like the non-surgical side?
Great question. Yeah. I really enjoyed plastics, but I find for me, like, the best part is the relationship with my patients. And when the patients are asleep and I'm doing other tasks in the operating room, it just doesn't really resonate with me and isn't as fulfilling. So having patients that I'm communicating with, talking to, and seeing their results in real time is, been a better fit for me.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you said that, because I really believe the aesthetic industry is white glove service. Like, it's more than just going to a regular doctor's office.
Absolutely.
What do you believe, like, how do you treat your patients when they come in and see you?
I think the most important thing is really, really listening. Yeah. They're here, and, you want to find out what is going to help them achieve their goals, what's going to make them happy. There might be something that you or I see and think, oh, that could be made better, but that's not really what they're there for. And so trying to really listen to them and acknowledge their concerns, and then just kind of partnering with the patient to achieve the goals. And I feel like as long as you follow that through, give patients plenty of time, don't rush them, they feel well taken care of.
Yeah, and I always say it's a repeat business. So if you're doing great work, everybody's going to talk about you and want you to, tell their friends to come and see you and things of that nature. And the same if you're just, not doing the best work.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice. So how do you find most of your patients? How do most of your patients come to you? Is it more social media, or is it more word of mouth? Or
for me, I'm really lucky. It's probably about 80% word of mouth.
Wow.
So almost all of my patients, I have a great relationship with them. And when I have a new patient come in, say, how did you hear about us? And they're always saying, oh, my friend from the gym sent me, or my hairstylist sent me, or something. And so my sister comes to you, and that's really the best compliment, and really it makes you feel really special that they're sending their friends and family to you.
Nice. Now, I know we all start off new, right? As providers come into the market, they're starting off new, they're gaining their confidence. How did you know you were confident enough, or how did you know you were ready to kind of pick up a needle and inject someone? What did it take?
That's such something I talk about with new injectors a lot. And it never feels comfortable that very first time. You know, when you're getting ready to put the needle into a patient's face and everyone has a lack of confidence in the very beginning. For me, I was really lucky that I worked in an area where I had a lot of mentors. I had a plastic surgeon on site. I had a master injector who'd been doing it over 5 years. I had another injector who'd been doing it for 2 years. So I had a lot of resources in-house. By treating my patients with, whether it's a plastic surgeon or the master injector, and then having my patients come in for follow-ups after a couple of weeks and really seeing what their results look like, really gave me the confidence to be able to do it completely on my own without, having somebody helping me, with tips on how to inject and where to, put the needle. So I think that's something I recommend for a lot of new injectors. Like, once you get started in the beginning, make sure you're always keeping in touch with your patient and doing a lot of follow-up so you can see, what does this look like? If I put Botox here, what does it actually look like once it sets in?
That's really good. No, I agree with that 100%. I heard a lot of providers say you should take a cadaver course. How do you feel about the cadaver courses?
Oh yeah, I think cadaver courses are really helpful. They're expensive, but I think if someone was going to allocate their resources, I would say maybe after injecting for about a year would be a great time, because then I feel like you have a good foundation, but you really want to see all of the different levels of the face and really get a good solid foundation of anatomy. Doing a cadaver course before injecting, it's helpful, but I don't think people get as much out of it.
Gotcha. Now, I want to go back. Let's go back to when you first started injecting. How did you break in? Like, what would be some tips for providers that are struggling with, like, getting in the market and they're getting frustrated to really do? What would you tell yourself back then?
So it's tough to get into as a new injector, for sure. I think one thing that worked for me is getting into a practice where I was able to offer other skills. So whether it was helping out in the operating room or doing, follow-up care for the patients while the plastic surgeon was investing in training me, because it's a lot of money training a new injector. It's harder if someone's coming on and there's not other services that they can contribute to. So I think in the beginning, if it's possible to work somewhere where there's other things you can do, whether you're helping the practice with social media or you're doing other types of services, whether you're doing IVs or whatnot, so you're helping bring the practice revenue while they're investing in, getting you trained.
That is so important. I actually want to look at the camera and say why it's so important, because as a practice, they're spending so much money to develop you as an injector, right?
Absolutely.
And for you to say, hey, I'm going to help you out with this, and this, I'm going to extend myself as a real partner in the company, which I think every injector is a partner in the company, whether it's on paper or it's just you working for them. It's great. It's great because you're building your overall brand along with them. So I definitely can agree with that 100%. Great. So tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in the market right now. Is there any trends or anything of that nature seeing in the aesthetic industry?
So I'm seeing a lot more like Sculptra and hyperdilute radius. Nice. So a couple years ago, that wasn't something I really even saw a lot of. So a lot that you can do with that besides, when we're putting fillers in and, contouring, whether we're trying to, enhance the jawline or the cheeks. But, both of these products are going to help patients grow their own collagen and revitalize their own collagen. So a lot of people are interested in like the Sculptra booty, but there's other things you can do like radius in the neck or, in the arms where skin starts to lose elasticity. And that's something I've seen that has really grown that I didn't really notice a lot of, several years ago.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think non-surgical BBLs are huge, especially in South Florida.
Yes.
The radius, the Sculptra is huge. What are some tips that I guess you can prevent or set patients' expectations with when they're going to get that type of treatment?
Great. So I try to be very clear with expectations all the time. I think that's what keeps a patient happy and has them coming back and sending their friends and family. It's not completely permanent. So, the results will say up to 1 year, Sculptra up to 25 months. Most of my patients, I do find it is going to last a little bit longer than that, but I want to make sure the expectations are not inflated. And it is an investment. It does take a lot of syringes. So I want patients to really understand if they're going to want to keep this up, doing like a full treatment, and then, typically want to see them back every 18 to 24 months to do a little bit more and kind of talking to them about what a maintenance plan would look like and long-term expenses, so they're not making a big investment and then, 3 years down the road they feel disappointed that, the results aren't what they once were.
Yeah, no, I agree. You got to set the expectations. You got to be true to your brand and true to yourself as an injector, because it does reflect on you and your reviews and things of that nature. So I wanted to go into branding because I know branding is huge. We're talking a little bit behind the scenes. Like when I look at like Julie Horn, she's known for the lips, or when I look at other providers, they're known for certain things that they inject, and that's who people come to see when they want to get that done. How big is branding to you, and what is your opinion on that?
I think branding is really important to all of us in this industry. We could only wish to one day be someone like Julie Horn. You know, she's fantastic. My brand, I think it's more so just be natural, be yourself, subtle changes. And a lot of my colleagues in the industry have other brands that are, you know, for them works differently than for me. I feel like I don't usually do really exaggerated features, like really, really large lips or anything that looks, I don't know, I would say like less natural, and that's fine if that's what the patient's looking for. But I feel like my brand, and then when my patients send their friends and family to me, is they say, I come to you because I don't look like I have anything done, and that's why my friends are coming, because they say, you look great, you don't look fake. And then they say, oh, go see Valerie. So we all have our own brand. You know, I have some of my friends in the industry that have a much younger clientele, and they're doing really, really large lips and really, really beautiful. But that's not really what I'm known for, I feel like, in my brand and my community.
Yeah, no, I can definitely understand, and that's good that you have identified what you want to know and brand yourself as, you know what I mean? So you can get that type of community. Tell me, what do you do if you have a patient that's like, okay, I do want something extra? How do you like navigate that, or what would be the best strategy to kind of navigate the situation?
So if it's something I'm comfortable with, really achieving their goals and spending time looking at pictures and talking about expectations, you know, I will do it. But if it's something that I think is pushing the limits, I have different colleagues that I send people to, where I'd rather send my patient somewhere where I say, you know, this is a unique thing that you're looking for, and this person does this all the time. They're going to take really excellent care of you. So it kind of depends on exactly what the patient's looking for, whether or not I'll do it or send them somewhere else.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. What celebrity do you get the most, like, I want to look like this person, or this, I want this, or things like that?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it's probably the Kardashians, and it's still not a lot, especially as a lot of my patients are more of the 40s and 50s. They're not as much showing up with pictures of celebrities. They may look through photos, whether it's my photos or other photos on Instagram, and say, I like this, I don't like this. But some of the younger patients, I feel like, you know, they're still pulling up pictures of Kardashians and saying, you know, give me Kylie Jenner lips or something like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand. I did a poll on the beach the other week where I asked people exactly what they thought. And Kardashians was the number one. Kardashians, and I think it got like Zac Efron was another one.
Yeah, I mean, these are beautiful people. They never even need anything to begin with.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you're from Minnesota, right?
I am.
Nice. How has, I want to talk about like the difference between injecting there and kind of injecting here. What do you see?
So I've actually only injected in North Carolina and in Florida.
Okay.
But I was from Minnesota, and it was way too cold, so I would make my way south. But injecting in North Carolina and South Florida is really different.
Yeah.
So, and I think in Minnesota is the patient base is more similar to what I had in North Carolina, where even though I was never, like I said, an injector in Minnesota, but at the plastic surgery office I was at in North Carolina, there was not a lot of really young patients. Like here, I find I have patients coming in that are, you know, just turned 18 wanting to get their lips done, and patients who are, you know, 21, 22 getting started with botox as a preventative, which I really like. I think prevention's important. In North Carolina, and I was in like the Raleigh-Durham area, more patients were 40s, 50s, 60s, and it was definitely a more natural aesthetic, which I think is part of why that's what I still gravitate towards and what I'm most comfortable with, so that's kind of where my roots and my foundation was for my training and where I got started.
Wow, that's amazing. And I would say the same thing. It's more drastic here. People want bigger, better, and other states there's, you know, a little less, so I can definitely understand that. That's super cool, super cool. Is there any like conferences or trainings that you would suggest for people to go if they're interested in breaking in, or if they're interested in getting themselves to the next level?
I think conferences are so important. Even for injectors who've been doing it a few years, I think continuing getting hands-on training. I think the best conference is going to be this August, the AES. We're both going to be there. So that is really great because it's really just mostly PAs and nurse practitioners, and then other people in the industry like yourself, but really focused on like what we can do. I think this type of conference is more helpful than, an overall conference that includes like every spa service. Like I know there's a few that they're still good, but it's just a little bit more generalized, or even the plastic surgery conferences where there's a lot of surgical information. But something like the AES where it's really focused on, injections, energy therapies, radiofrequency, lasers, good skincare. I think that's probably the best if I had to pick one for the entire year.
Yeah. I think that one is going to be huge. There's also one in Vegas, Aesthetics Show.
Yes.
That one's pretty huge. I'm going to that one.
I haven't been to that, but I was looking into it, so you'll have to let me know how it is.
Yes. So I think it's really great that people go to those because it's a networking piece too.
Yes.
Community is huge. What is your views on like community? Do you feel as though you should have a network around you as providers or what do you think about that?
100%. And that's something I've been actually a little pleasantly surprised with is that the community, especially here in South Florida, is so warm and welcoming. I feel like I've known a lot of injectors. It's really more about collaborative over competition. Yeah. If I have a concern, I can reach out to somebody and they give me, honest suggestions or honest help. When people reach out to me, training each other on different things, I think community is so important. Without it, I feel like people are going to not have nearly as much information and as good of, tools and skills.
I agree, because it's great when everything's going great, but if there's an emergency or something that happens, you want somebody to call, want somebody that can talk to, like how to handle this situation or how do I deal with this.
Everyone should share their Hyland X. If somebody has, I've been fortunate to not have any catastrophic vascular occlusions, but that's something I know with myself and, a group of at least 20 of us where if somebody's like, hey, I'm having an issue, can you, right away, we'd share and when it helped, like you said, an emergency especially.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, social media, do you use it?
I do.
Okay, nice. How has it been impactful to your career? Tell us about that.
So I was a really late starter with social media. Yeah. I feel like for a long time I thought I wasn't going to need social media because my patients, I was like, oh, they're not really interested in that. But actually the truth is pretty much everyone is. And if you're going to be an injector, going to be in this industry, you have to have social media. So I'm a lot newer than many, but I think it's important, posting before and after pictures so patients can really see what my work is like and help them have confidence if they're going to come to me. If you don't have social media, it starts to, at this point, become almost like a red flag.
No, I agree. I mean, there is some older providers that I know that just don't use it, right? They just don't use social media anymore. But I feel like if you're in this generation of the providers that are right now, social media is a must. You know what I mean? And I think it gives you a lot of edge. People want to know exactly about you and who you are as a person. How do you balance that? How do you know how much to share, how much little to share, things of that nature?
Oh, that's a great question. So have you look at my social media, tell me if I'm doing it right. I don't share a ton of personal stuff. I think, for me, injecting is my world. I love my patients. So that really is what I'm most excited about sharing on social media. But aside from that, I'm really active in different things with my dog. We volunteer together and we do a bunch of trainings. So I'll show a little bit of that just because I'm excited about it. Every now and then maybe something else with a trip or something with friends and family. But probably about 90% of what I share is really what I do for work.
Yeah, no, I definitely can understand. And tell us about your dog. I would love to hear. What type of dog?
So I have Petunia, and what's funny is I recently started recording these videos, and she always wants to be in the video, and I think this comes from COVID, doing Zoom calls with my family, and she would always want to get on my lap and paw at the computer. So she's a little Pomeranian. She's a rescue dog. We volunteer with kids. So she's considered an ambassador, which is kind of like a therapy dog. So she loves her kids that we volunteer with. So we volunteer once a week. And then once a week, she also does training. So right now she just started an agility training and she has so much fun. She loves these types of things. So I just, enjoy bonding with her, and she's a really good dog.
Super cool, super cool. And the trainings too. Has it helped over the time?
She's gotten better. And that's actually how it started. So about 6 years ago, everyone's like, you have the worst dog in the world. Your dog is so terrible. Are you going to get rid of your dog? It's like, no, I'm not getting rid of my dog. But she just really needed training. And so it started with, hey, let's learn how to sit and let's learn this. And we realized how much fun we had in training. And, different people had told me that if you have them thinking and focusing on other things, it really does help their behavior. And it has. And we've just stuck with it. She's very good now.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, for sure. Are you big in health and wellness?
Absolutely.
Nice. How big and important do you think that is working in this industry?
I think it's huge. I find a lot of my even patients I found are from the gyms that I work out at, and that's just naturally, building community. Yeah. But there's so much, aesthetics is really great, but if you're not taking care of the inside, I feel like we're missing a really important piece. And so, good diets, good exercise, making sure hormones are optimized. There's a lot that we can do to really kind of feel total optimally as a whole.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand. I can definitely agree with that. Even myself, just being in the industry, I just want to work out and feel good because it reflects that. And I feel like how you look on the outside makes you how you feel on the inside, and things vice versa. So I can definitely understand that. Definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you listen to any like podcasts or anything that stays you like motivated, keeps you motivated, or things of that nature?
I do. Well, I follow yours very closely. So every Friday a new episode's released, and that's been really helpful to me. Right now I'm listening to a tax podcast, so it sounds kind of boring, but it is helping me kind of learn some of the ins and outs. There's a few aesthetic med spa podcasts, but I feel like a lot of them are not really releasing as many new episodes. For fun, I listen to Stuff You Should Know. Have you heard that one?
No.
Oh, it's not really related to this, but it's just a really cute podcast that every week goes over a new topic and dives in depth, and the hosts are really interesting, so that's more just for leisure. Yeah. So right now I'm, elbow deep in tax podcasts.
Yeah. What are some, I know this is kind of like a different type of question, but what are some advantages of working in this industry? Because a lot of people, they come from the hospital. I don't know if you ever worked in the hospital before, but a lot of people...
I didn't.
No? Okay.
I know. I'm very much, this is all I've done, but...
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, some people come from the hospital or come from different industries, and they're like, I really want to get in this industry, and I'm always like, there's so many good advantages of being in here. What are some advantages that you've seen or you like so far?
I think there's a lot, and that's why I've never really been interested in working in other types of medicine. For one, my patients are really healthy. Yeah. My patients are healthy, they're happy to see me, so the appointments and interactions are really positive. I enjoy the services myself, like whether I'm getting, a radio frequency microneedling or doing some Botox myself. I think, working in this industry, you have a better access to have, these really cool treatments done. And it's just a really fun community. Yeah. It's, like you said, this is not life or death. This is people that are, doing self-care and doing nice things for themselves. And so I think it's a lot less stress. I've never worked in the hospital, so I'm not the best person to ask. Yeah. And better hours too. Don't ever have any overnight shifts. I feel like I would say more laid back. It's still really important. You're dealing with people's faces and their bodies, their appearance, but it's just, I think, a more positive environment.
Great. So tell me, what would be some challenges that you faced in your career?
So a big challenge is if you move states. So I was injecting in North Carolina, and you love that. You move to a new state, you lose almost all of your patients. I only have one patient who right now actually travels to see me. That's a really big challenge. If you want to form your brand, form your community, it's best to stay put, because it's building a new patient following is tough at a new state.
And I could see that, I've heard a lot of different injectors say some of their patients do come from out of state to see them. I'm like, you have to be such amazing service that you give for someone to come to get Botox or filler or anything from a different state, but that's amazing. But I can definitely see that being a big challenge for sure. What about employee burnout? How do you feel about that in this industry?
I think that's really probably much more common early on. So when you're a brand new injector and you're grinding and you're working really, really hard and working long hours, and it's also really stressful because you don't have a lot of confidence. But once someone's been doing this at least a couple years, I found that I've been able to pretty much select the schedule I want and not work so many hours or see so many patients where I am feeling burnout. So I think that's, for experienced injectors, probably not nearly as common, fortunately.
And that's good because, in the beginning I always tell injectors, you do have to work really hard because you have to understand the field itself, right? You got to understand how all the procedures work, how everything, just normal things work. And then once you get to that spot where you're really great at what you do, then you kind of can make your own decisions and your own choices of how you kind of want to run your schedule and things of that nature.
Yeah, and you're more efficient. It's funny when I think about new injectors, myself as a new injector, and how long it would take me to, say, do lips compared to now. It's like you're more efficient, and once you learn everything, like you said, and have, understand the business, it's not nearly as stressful.
Nice. Do you suggest that new providers start off in like a dermatology office or a plastic surgery office?
Whenever possible, absolutely. I think, at least for me, that worked really well. And, a lot of times those offices, not always, but it's bigger where you have a few, like there was 3 injectors where I was at, plus a plastic surgeon. And I think if you're a new injector and you're all by yourself, that would be really intimidating and probably not give you the tools to be as successful as possible. So I can't say for everyone, because I know some people who've done it really well and they did a training and they went out working in a place all by themselves. Ideally, though, I think working in one of those specialties is going to give somebody like the best foundation.
Yeah. So since you've been in aesthetics for so long, what is your next accomplishment, something that you would like to achieve?
So I'm very excited that I'm opening up my own practice.
Oh, nice.
So it'll be Mock's Aesthetic and Wellness, so with my name. Nice. And it's been a journey. It's been a lot of learning, but that's really going to be the next step. And I'm really excited to just have my own, boutique, concierge level, like high white glove service for, just a small number of patients.
Nice. We'll definitely have to come in there and film once you open.
Oh, I'd love that very much. Thank you.
What made you wanted to choose your last name to put it in the title?
Yeah, and my family was like, that's not a good choice because Mock has a lot of different reasons or a lot of different meanings. But it's my name and I like my name, so I decided to do it anyways. I think it's short, it's sweet, it's 4 letters. And yeah, Mock sounds like fake, but I think as the patients know me, everyone knows my name is Valerie Mock, and so I feel confident having that as like part of my, the title of my business.
Yeah, and I think like you're creating a legacy, right, for yourself. So, I've heard somebody else say the same thing, and I agree with it. I did it myself. So
yes, it's been great.
Yeah, so I think it's great that you're definitely doing that. What services will you be adding in there, or what services will you be focusing on?
So primarily injectables to start. So, Botox, fillers, kybell, Sculptra, things like that. I'm also going to do some more deeper chemical peels, microneedling. So kind of just the basics.
Super cool, super cool. Now, I always ask, is there anyone, now there's so many providers in the world, so many great talented people. Is there anybody that you suggest providers to follow, to learn about, check in with if they're interested in the industry, or maybe they want to just connect with other people?
Yes. So Jubilant Julie, do you follow her? Yes. She is great. I feel like her focus is really like what can go wrong. Yeah. But she has like a Patreon, and I follow her on Instagram, and basically helps you prevent having an adverse event, and also what to do if that happens. So to me, I think she's number 1. Number 2, I like Tim Pierce. Do you follow him?
No.
No. He's a plastic surgeon and just does a lot of good training videos and really heavily focused on anatomy. I don't follow him as much as I did when I first started, but now that I have a solid foundation. But back in the day, I feel like I was following every single video.
Yeah. And what do you feel about following those videos? Do you feel like you learn a lot from like following other people or things like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I see people posting things I think are cool. I'll comment, give them a round of applause. I'll send them messages, ask questions if it's something that I want to learn more about. And people have been really open to, sharing with me their tips or giving me advice.
Nice. How do you feel about one-on-one training versus like group training? What would you advise more? I
think one-on-one is much preferred. Small group training, like 2 to 3 injectors, new injectors learning, I think is fine. And then you can still get some hands-on, but really large groups I don't think is as helpful. And I think if someone is really starting out, one-on-one is the best because you're really going to feel more confident asking those questions and really getting your skills kind of fine-tuned and where they need to be.
Nice, yes, and I agree 100%. Like, you want to ask as many questions, and I feel like sometimes when you're in a group, you feel like almost scared or dumb to ask those questions, but everybody's thinking it. And when you're by yourself, those situations occur, and you're like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Exactly. I think definitely one-on-one, hands-on is the way to go.
For sure. Do you travel outside the state, or would you travel outside the state for training?
Yeah, I definitely would. If there's a good, Jubilant Julie has the bed and breakfast, head and breakfast, he calls it, that's out of state, and it's a cadaver course that I plan to do in the next couple years. So for the right course, I definitely would be willing to travel out of state.
Nice. Super cool. Super cool. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me, Valerie, and speaking more about the aesthetic industry. Tell everybody where they can find you. And what you got
thank
planned
you
next.
so much.
Yes.
I appreciate it. So you can follow me on Instagram at PA_Valerie M, or if anyone has questions, they could also email me at mockaesthetics@gmail.com.
Nice. And you do shadowing too, right? People can shadow you if they're interested.
Absolutely.
Too. All right, so reach out to her if you're interested in shadowing or breaking in. All right, and until next time, bye.